Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you Mount Olympus School for hosting this TEDx, and thank you to the management and other speakers, friends, students, all of you who have come. So thank you. I'm told this is the second edition of the TEDx here, and since last year was TEDx Youth, so I believe this is the first adult version of the TEDx. Of course, when we say the adult version, the first time I heard of TEDx, I was at IIT Bombay, and I told my professor while watching a TEDx video from the last row of our lecture that I just murmured. He asked me, "What are you seeing?" I said, "I am watching a TEDx video." He didn't hear the word TED, so everything else is pretty much history. So, my friends, the fundamental thing about what the entire pressure paradox topic that the school has chosen today is the entire psychological, scientific, behavioral, societal, and economics of the way things are around us that have given shape to this entire situation of pressure, to the situation of stress, to this situation of wanting to excel, wanting to do something different. And that is where I am here to tell you about three different verticals that I feel are very significant to the entire pressure paradox equation. One is, of course, purpose, one is power, and one is people, the three P's of the pressure paradox. Purpose, my friends, of course, is the very first element of this vertical that I wanted to explain. When we talk of purpose, a lot of you young people here today are experiencing this. You are in that pressure cooker situation often, more often than not. And it is because of the entire education ecosystem that we have evolved. Of course, I am a huge proponent of the fact that India's education ecosystem has been delivering consistently on the world stage. There is Sundar Pichai at Google, a Satya Nadella at Microsoft, a Shiv Nadar at HCL, and Arvind Krishna at IBM, a Shantanu Narayan at Adobe, and Ajay Banga at World Bank. The list is endless. Even the CEO of a website called OnlyFans, which some of the other guys in the last row are having a smile on, was an Indian woman by the name Amrapali Gan. So this goes on to prove the Harvard Business School, probably the most important, significant institution in management, has a dean called Shrikant Datar. The former dean of Harvard Business School was a man called Nitin Noria. The dean, the Danoff dean of Harvard College, the principal institution is a man called Rakesh Khurana. This just goes on to prove the absolute excellence of the Indian education system. Sundar Pichai is a metallurgical engineer from IIT Kharagpur, goes on to become the CEO of the biggest tech company in the world. Again, proves the Indian education is performing. But in the last 20 years, of course, ever since Gen Z's evolved, there has been a lot of talk around the fact that, our Indian education system promotes rote learning. Our Indian education system promotes a lot of emphasis on theory rather than practical experiential learning, and hence fancy education ecosystem started evolving. The first thing I asked these folks when I came to the school this morning was what board the school operates on, and they said CBSE, and I was really happy about it because I pretty much feel that CBSE has been delivering consistently on the world stage to a great extent. So a couple years back, I was at a university in the UK. It's one of the oldest universities in the world, so I will not name it, just because TEDx doesn't want me to name such universities. I was seated in an auditorium with 4,000, 5,000 people, of which 70-80% of them were Europeans, my friends from the so-called developed countries of the world. I was, of course, as it would happen in countries like these, I was seated with a bunch of Nepalis, Bangladeshis, and Pakistanis in one corner because that's where they are our best friends. Despite our problems in this part of the world, they are our best friends there. So I was sitting amongst the poster boys of the third world, proverbial poster boys. And of course, the speaker, again a very famous guy who's written books on the evolution of Homo sapiens and all of those, again without naming the guy, started speaking about the evolution of life. And somewhere he said that we are all the product of a thing called amino acids, the building blocks of life. And then, of course, the audience didn't react quite enthusiastically, so he said, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? And then he looked at us and said, I'll excuse you guys, but I'm sure the rest of you all follow. And then he just asked the question again, and there was pin drop silence in the auditorium. Of course, the developed countries of the world did not have an answer to that. At a time like that, my hand went up. I said, sir, the amino acids you have been asking are lysine, arginine, histidine, aspartic acid, glutamic acid, serine, thioridine, asparagine, glutamine, tyrosine, cysteine, glycine, lavaline, valine, leucine, isoleucine, methionine, proline, phenylalanine, and tryptophan. And after that, I looked at my counterparts from the Western world and said to myself, deep within my heart, that's UPSC for you, bitches. And I know that there has been a lot of chatter about the downfalls of this education system that have often been quoted. The pressure paradox that we are discussing in this TEDx is a result of this very concept. So from ranks to purpose, I think this is the number one vertical I wanted to concentrate on. There has been a lot of emphasis. All of you students at Mount Olympus or anywhere else would be listening to this. You will often come across this analogy in life, whether you wish to do something quick or you want to do something perfect. You're making a project, you want to make it perfect. You're doing something around education. This quest for perfection will always come into the entire dialogue. But in my personal opinion, 9 out of 10 times, you don't need to make it perfect. Done is better than perfect. It's the number one thing about life. You be there, you do it, that's more than enough. That's what consistency is the key for most of these things. That's what great cricketers do, that was great footballers do, that's what great innovators do. You be there, you do it. Done is better than perfect. So in the very fundamental thing about the pressure paradox is, do not chase perfection. Ranks, all of this education ecosystem, the desire to appear in an IIT JEE or a UPSC, your rank, whatever percentages you might get, of course, being in Delhi, I'm sure you all want to aspire to get good percentages, otherwise with the cutoffs at DU, it will be very difficult to get in. But despite that, do not let this sense of competition come in the way of your success, of your progress, because this is not the age for competition, it's the age for collaboration. So do not let your academic ambitions turn other people into your foes. Your classmates are your best companions. Your school friends, the friendships you make here today, the teachers you have here today, they'll be the best people you will remember all your life. Your college friends, they'll just be a bunch of acquaintances. And in the age of breakups and all of this, I don't think you will remember faces and people as much as you'd remember your school friends. So let your purpose define you rather than your desire to excel on a metric scale, on a 100-point scale, a CGPA of 10 points or a GPA of 5 points. More than that, it is the collaboration. So make sure that you absorb that tendency from the very beginning. Of course, there have been some incredible exams this country has produced. The IIT JEE is one of them. In the JEE, there is a lot of things that go into making a JEE aspirant happen. Don't let the other side of the pressure system tell you that there's a lot of stress in preparing for these exams, and with the rise of liberal arts and the Western influence in education, don't let that take away your desire to compete also at the same time. Because all of these competitive exams, I believe they are a way of life. They can teach you more than any other academic year of your life. For most people, the most significant years of your schooling are class 11th and 12th, your grade 11th and 12th, whatever they call it, A levels, the DP program, or the 11th and 12th, good old 11th and 12th. I think they are most fundamental years. The amount of knowledge, even today, the amino acids I just told you about, they were in a class 12th biotechnology book, which I had just flipped across in a library once. And that is the knowledge you carry forward. Your engineering education, your management education will only teach you one thing eventually, and that is MS Excel. And that is all that you'll use for the rest of your lives. So don't let your schooling years, the competition, go away in any way. The next most important pressure paradox, the second vertical, is the foreign policy one. Of course, being in diplomacy, around external affairs, one of the fundamental things I get asked is India's foreign policy. It's the age of multilateralism and multipolarity, we say. Today, you do no longer have relations between two simple countries. Back in the 60s and 70s, it was about US and USSR, the two major poles of the world, striving to achieve a sense of superiority. There were the space wars, there were the nuclear wars, the Cuban Missile Crisis. They put their nuclear weapons all together at each other. So most countries, their definition of being a superpower or definition of being a developed country was on the basis of their nuclear arsenal. The UN, where I've had the pleasure of being there several times, the UN Security Council, संयुक्त राष्ट्र के सुरक्षा परिषद की स्थायी सदस्यता, the permanent seat of the UN Security Council, something that India has been talking of for so many years. Currently, there are 5 nations, right? The P5 model, as we call it. You know who are the front runners of the UN Security Council? The 2 countries by the name US and France, of course, which you all love visiting, love clicking photos under the Eiffel Tower or the Statue of Liberty and all that. But then you ask, why is there not everlasting peace and prosperity in the world? जब आपने विश्व शांति का जिम्मा ऐसे 2 देशों को दिया हुआ है जिनका घर बम बारूद बेचने से चलता है, so the entire idea of peace is nothing but a mythology. The idea of world peace is nothing but a concept that we can talk of endlessly, because countries at the helm of world peace, of world security, are looking at a whole lot of other things other than making sure you're peaceful and you're dancing under the sun on a nice sunny day in a garden. So there's a lot of things that are happening. And in the current scheme of things, of course, my friends, a lot of the foreign policy rhetoric, we are in the age of multilateralism, we say, wherein we have multiple bodies, multiple countries that we are interacting with at the same time, with a different agenda with each. When the Russia-Ukraine crisis happened, we were asked if we would cut ties with Russia. Of course, at a time like that, also, we had to take a stance. It's no longer a one-size-fits-all foreign policy. We have a different equation for every single country out there today. It's a multipolar world, and more so much after the economic downtime, the recession that happened during the 2009, 10, 11 years. After that, it's been a multipolar world. There are multiple polarities that have come up. And in the scheme of things that have evolved, the last 4-5 months after Operation Sindoor and a lot of these things, there were articles globally, the death of multilateralism, they said. So we are no longer at a time where your enemies 5 months ago will keep on remaining your enemies today. Of course, the photo behind me tells you who our enemies were 5 or 6 months ago. And today, they are no longer our enemies, probably, because, of course, the leader of the free world is a tad bit lunatic, they say, and I don't need to name him. And the proverbial leader of the free world is an orange-haired man living in the US right now in Washington, D.C. And he's not liked by a lot of people around the world. At a time like this, arch rivals, foes, competitors turn to each other, like in a lot of these situations. So, of course, multilateralism is an ever-evolving equation. Foreign policy has the maximum amount of pressure per square inch you can imagine in any profession around the world. It's constantly evolving, and at a time India is thriving. We are trying to tell the world our entire idea of becoming a superpower is not on the basis of our nuclear arsenal, is not on the basis of our S-400 ballistic missiles or defenders. It's not on the basis of our space ambitions. Our space organization, ISRO, has been the most jugadu space organization that can ever exist. We were never into deep space exploration like NASA. We were not into advanced space exploration like the European Space Agency. Our idea was sending satellites into orbit in the cheapest amount possible. The movie Gravity had more cost than we used for our Mars mission. You all know that. The per kilometer costing of the Mars mission was around 47 rupees or so. The cost of a single CubeSat that ISRO put in one of the PSLV missions, the Polar Synchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, my friends, the powerhouse of an engine, for the last 70 missions, it has put satellites into orbit. And the lowest cost that we gave to one of the smaller countries that we helped put a satellite was $10,000. That's 6.5, 7 lakh rupees back as per the conversion then. That's the cost of putting a satellite in orbit, my friends. And that's where I feel there is an incredible opportunity that we are building. Our idea of becoming a world leader is on the basis of helping ours. Goodwill, the idea of Vasudev Kutumbakam, that is what India is giving to the world. And I think that is where you all have an opportunity to build the country of the future. Of course, when we say Vasudev Kutumbakam, family comes into picture, and a lot of times world leaders are busy showing affection to each other as displayed in the photo behind me without looking at the photo. So you all know that with changing times and changing ideas, the idea of pressure is changing. Pressure at the academic front is necessary to be able to excel, but not at the cost of friendships, not at the cost of making the guy who comes first getting bullied or the guy who comes third never getting talked to. The idea of foreign policy is to thrive, but not at the cost of letting others fail. So that is where there is an incredible opportunity, my friends. There have been some great people over the many, many years whom I feel have contributed more to the world, but have never been given due credit. This lady here is Rosalind Franklin. Couple days back, James Watson, the guy, the Watson and Crick double helical structure of the DNA, passed away at the age of 97. Rosalind Franklin was the woman who was pioneering in discovering the double helical structure. There's a famous photo called Photo 51, if you might want to Google it after this. She was the one who discovered it, but never got her due credit. There have been incredible people who have lived, who have thrived under pressure, and yet delivered. Marie Curie, her book that she used to get things noted down is still radioactive and still lying in a lead chamber somewhere in a museum up there. Incredible people who have done that. That guy is a man you often hear about, Robert Louis Stevenson. Never got married, was a shy kid, got married to a woman with kids, died in his early 30s, had tuberculosis. While dying, the guy's, one of the kids in the household was not feeling well. So he told him a story about pirates. So the entire idea of pirates, that they wear an eye patch, that they have a fake leg, that they are on ships, and they are treasure hunting. The entire idea of Pirates of the Caribbean or anything around it came from Robert Louis Stevenson. Incredible people like that have lived, and especially some that I feel have never received their due credit, my friends, especially the ones who are in our freedom struggle. Khudiram Bose, incredible folks who have been from ISRO to all of these. The guy kissed the hallows at the age of 18 years. All of these people, they did it because they had a purpose, not to be able to, give it back to the world or get recognition, but because they felt this was right. Bhagat Singh at the gallows in Lahore Central Jail, after being on an ice slab for several hours after having been beaten, he comes back to the Phansi barrack, and in a diary he writes that is qadar waqif hai meri kalam mere jazbaton se, main ishq bhi likhna chahun to inqilab likha jata hai. I don't think you need better amount of direction than that. There is no such thing as pressure. It is the way the world is. And most of the time, it is our desire to seek applaud that often comes in the way. The world won't applaud you when you want it. They'll applaud you at a time when you least expect it. So let the pressure happen. Go out there, seize the day, and win the world. Thank you so much.